Hello? Today we're going to read some poems by Henry Lawson. I don't really know who this is. I have never really read any of these poems before, but I was in my local bookstore and I flipped through it. Some of them seem kind of interesting. So I suppose I will introduce myself to some of these works. I'm not going to read everything. I'm not even going to read every page I go through. I'm just going to sort of flip through and pick a few here or there to cover, probably for about half an hour. Here we have The Slip Rails and the Spur. The colors of the setting sun withdrew across the western land. He raised the slip rails one by one and shot them home with trembling hand. Her brown hands clung, her face grew pale. Quivering chin and eyes that brim, one quick, fierce kiss across the rail, and goodbye, Mary. Goodbye, Jim. Oh, he rides hard to race the pain, who rides from love, who rides from home. But he rides slowly home again, whose heart has learnt to love and roam. A hand upon the horse's mane, and one foot in the stirrup set, and, stooping back to kiss again, with goodbye, Mary, don't you fret. When I come back, he laughed for her. We do not know how soon 'twill be. I'll whistle as I round the spur. You let down the slip rails for me. She gasped for sudden loss of hope, as, with a backward wave to her, he cantered down the grassy slope, and swiftly round the darkening spur, black penciled panels standing high, and darkness fading into stars. And, blurring fast against the sky, a faint white form beside the bars. And often at the set of sun, in winter bleak and summer brown, she'd steal across the little run and shyly let the slip rails down, and listen there when darkness shut the nearest spur in silence deep, and when they called her from the hut, steal home and cry herself to sleep. And he rides hard to dull the pain, who rides from one that loves him best, and he rides slowly back again, whose restless heart must rove for rest. The Roaring Days. The night too quickly passes, and we are growing old, so let us fill our glasses and toast the days of gold, when finds of wondrous treasure set all the South ablaze, and you and I were faithful mates all through the roaring days. Then stately ships came sailing from every harbor's mouth, and sought the land of promise that beaconed in the south. Then southward streamed their streamers, and swelled their canvas full, to speed the wildest dreamers, airborne in vessels whole. Their shining El Dorado, beneath the southern skies, was day and night forever before their eager eyes. The brooding bush awakened, was stirred in wild unrest, and all the year a human stream went pouring to the west. The rough bush roads re-echoed the barroom's noisy din, when troops of stalwart horsemen dismounted at the inn. And oft the hearty greetings and hearty clasp of hands would tell of sudden meetings of friends from other lands. And when the cheery campfire explored the bush with gleams, the camping grounds were crowded with caravans of teams. Then home the jests were driven, and good old songs were sung, and choruses were given the strength of heart and lung. Oft when the camps were dreaming, and fires began to pale, through rugged ranges gleaming, swept on the royal mail. Behind 6 foaming horses, and lit by flashing lamps, old Cobb and Co. in royal state went dashing past the camps. Oh, who would paint a gold field, and paint the picture right, as old Adventure saw it in early morning's light? The yellow mounds of Moloch, with spots of red and white, the scattered quartz that glistened like diamonds in light, the azure line of ridges, the bush of darkest green, the little homes of calico that dotted all the scene, the flat straw hats with ribbons that old engravings show, the dress that still reminds us of sailors long ago. I hear the fall of timber from distant flats and fells, the pealing of the anvils as clear as little bells, the rattle of the cradle, the clack of windlass bowls, the flutter of the crimson flag above the golden holes. Ah, then their hearts were bolder, and if Dame Fortune frowned, their swags they'd lightly shoulder and tramp to other ground. Oh, they were lion-hearted, who gave our country birth, stout sons of stoutest fathers born from all the lands of earth. Those golden days are vanished, and altered is the scene. The diggings are deserted, the camping grounds are green. The flaunting flag of progress is in the west unfurled, the mighty bush with iron rails is tethered to the world. Past Karen. Now up and down the sliding brown the great black crows are flying, and down below the spur I know another milker's dying. The crops have withered from the ground, the tank clay bed is glaring, but from my heart no tear nor sound, for I have got past Karen. Past worrying or caring, past feeling aught or caring, but from my art no tear nor sound, for I have got past Karen. Through death and trouble turn about, through hopeless desolation, through flood and fever, fire and drought, and slavery and starvation, through childbirth, sickness, hurt and blight, and nervousness and scaring, through being left alone at night, I've come to be past Karen. Past bothering or caring, past feeling and past caring. Through city cheats and neighbors' spite, I've come to be past caring. Our first child took, in days like these, a cruel, weak, and dying, all day upon her father's knees, o'er my poor breast lying. The tears we shed, the prayers we said, were waffle, wild, despairing. I've pulled 3 through, and buried 2, since then. I'm past Karen, I'm grown to be past Karen, past looking up or caring. I pulled 3 through and buried 2 since then, and I'm past caring. 'Twas 10 years first, then came the worst, all for a barren clearing. I thought my heart would burst when first my man went shearing. He's drovin' in the great northwest, I don't know how he's faring. And I, the one that loved him best, have grown to be past caring. I've grown to be past caring, past waiting and past wearying. The girl that waited long ago has lived to be past caring. My eyes are dry. I cannot cry. I've got no heart for breaking. But where it was in days gone by, a dull and empty aching. My last boy ran away from me, I know my temper's wearing. But now I only wish to be beyond all signs of caring. Past worrying or caring, past feeling and despairing. And now I only wish to be beyond all signs of caring. The Vagabond. White handkerchiefs wave from the short black pier as we glide the grand old sea. The song of my heart is for none to hear, if none of them waves for me. A careless roaming life is mine, ever by field or flood. For not far back in my father's line was a dash of the gypsy blood. Flax and tussock and fern, gum and mulga and sand, reef and palm with my fancies turn ever away from land. Strange wild cities and ancient state, range and river and tree, snow and ice, but my star of fate is ever across the sea. A godlike ride on a thundering sea, when all but the stars are blind. A desperate race from eternity, with a gale and a half behind. A jovial spree in the cabin at night, a song on the rolling deck. A lark ashore with the ships in sight, till a wreck goes down with the wreck. A smoke and a yarn on the deck by day, when life is a waking dream, and care and trouble so far away that out of your life they seem. A roving spirit in sympathy, who has travelled the whole world o'er, my heart forgets in a week at sea the trouble of years on shore. A rolling stone is a saw for slaves, philosophy false as old. Wear out or break 'neath the feet of knaves, or rot on your bed of mould. But I'd rather trust to the darkest skies, and the wildest seas that roar, or die when the stars of nations rise in the stormy clouds of war. Cleave to your country, home and friends, die in the sordid strife. You can count your friends on your finger ends in the critical hours of life. Sacrifice all for the family's sake, bow to their selfish rule. Slave to your big soft heart, they break the heart of the family fool. I've never a love that can sting my pride, or a friend to prove untrue. For I leave my love ere the turning tide, and my friends are all too new. The curse of the powers on a peace like ours, with its greed and its treachery. A stranger's hand in a stranger land, and the rest of the world for me. But why be bitter? The world is cold to one with a frozen heart. New friends are often so like the old, they seem of the past apart. As a better part of the past appears, when enemies, parted long, are come together in kinder years, with their better nature strong. I had a friend, ere my first ship sailed, a friend I never deserved. For the selfish strain in my blood prevailed, as soon as my turn was served. The memory haunts my heart with shame, or rather, the pride that's there, in different guises, but soul the same. I meet him everywhere. I had a chum. When the times were tight, we starved in Australian scrubs. We froze together in parks at night and laughed together in pubs. And I often hear a laugh, a light like his, from a sense of humour keen, and catch a glimpse in a passing fizz of his broad, good-humoured grin. And I had a love. 'Twas a love to prize, but I never went back again. I have seen the light of her kind grey eyes in many a face since then. The sailors say 'twill be rough tonight, as they fasten the hatches down. The south is black and the bar is white, and the drifting smoke is brown. The gold has gone from the western haze, the sea-birds circle and swarm. But we shall have plenty of sunny days, and little enough of storm. The hill is hiding the short black pier as the last white signal's seen. The points run in, and the houses veer, the great bluff stands between. So darkness swallows each far white speck on many a wharf and quay. The night comes down on a restless deck, grim cliffs, and the open sea. Ports of the open sea. Down here where the ships loom large in the gloom when the sea storms veer. Down here in the southwest margin of the western hemisphere, where the might of the world-wide ocean round the youngest land rolls free, storm-bound from the world's commotion, lie the ports of the open sea. By the bluff where the grey sand reaches, to the curb of the spray-swept street, by the sweep of the black sand beaches to the main road traveller's feet, by the heights, like a work titanic, begun ere the gods' work ceased, by a bluff lined coast volcanic, lie the ports of the wild southeast. By the steeps of the snow-capped ranges, by the scarped and terraced hills, far away from the swift life changes, aware of the strife that kills, where the land in the spring seems younger than a land of the earth might be. Oh, the heart of the rover's hunger for the ports of the open sea. But the captains watch and hearken for a sign of the South Sea's wrath. Let the face of the southeast darken, and they turn to the ocean path. Aye, the sea boats dare not linger, whatever the cargo be, when the southeast lifts a finger by the ports of the open sea. Down south by the bleak bluff faring, or north, where the three kings wait, the storms of the southeast daring, they race through the foam-tossed strait. Astern, where a white-winged roamer found death in the tempest roar, the wash, the foam-flaked comber runs green to the black-ribbed shore. The southeast lands are dread lands, to the sailor high in the shrouds. The low clouds loom like headlands, the black bluffs blur like clouds. The breakers rage to windward, the lights are massed alee, the sunken rocks run inward to a port of the open sea. But oh, for the south-east weather, the sweep of the 3 days' gale, when far through the flax and heather the spindrift drives like hail. Glory to man's creations that drive where the gale grows gruff, when the homes of the sea-coast stations flash white from the darkening bluff. When the swell of the southeast rouses the wrath of the Maori sprite, and the brown folk flee their houses to crouch in the flax by night, and wait as they long have waited, in fear as the brown folk be, the wave of destruction fated for the ports of the open sea. Grey clouds in the mountain bases, wild boughs in their rush and sweep, the rounded hills in their places, with tussocks like flying sheep. The storm bird alone and soaring, o'er grasses and fern and tree, and the beaches of boulder roaring, the hymn of the open sea. Taking his chance. They stood by the door of the inn on the rise, May Carney looked up in the bushranger's eyes. "Oh, why did you come? It was mad of you, Jack. You know that the troopers are out in your track." A laugh and a shake of his obstinate head. "I wanted a dance, and I'll chance it," he said. Some 20-odd bushmen had come to the ball, but Jack from his youth had been known to them all. And bushmen are soft where a woman is fair, so the love of Mary Carney protected him there. Through all the short evening, it seems like romance, she danced with a bushranger taking his chance. 'Twas midnight. The dancers stood suddenly still, for hoof beats were heard on the side of the hill. Ben Dugan, the drover, along the hillside, came riding as only a bushman can ride. He sprang from his horse. The dancers he sped. "The troopers are down in the gully," he said. Quite close to the shanty the troopers were seen. "Clear out and ride hard for the ranges, Jack Dean." "Be quick," said May Carney, her hand on her heart. "We'll bluff them a while, and 'twill give you a start." He lingered a moment, to kiss her, of course, then ran to the trees where he'd hobbled his horse. She ran to the gate, and the troopers were there. The jingle of hobbles came faint on the air. And loudly she screamed. It was only to drown the treacherous clatter of slip rails let down. But troopers are sharp, and she saw at a glance that someone was taking a desperate chance. They chased and they shouted, "Surrender, Jack Dean!" They called him 3 times in the name of the Queen. Then came from the darkness the clicking of locks. The crack of a rifle was heard on the rocks. A shriek, and a shout, and a rush of pale men. And there lay the bushranger, chancing it then. The sergeant dismounted and knelt on the sod. "Your bushranging's over. Make peace, Jack, with God." The dying man laughed, and in a word he replied, but he turned to the girl who knelt down by his side. He gazed in her eyes as she lifted his head. "Just kiss me, my girl, and I'll chance it," he said. To Jim. I gaze upon my son once more, with eyes and heart that tire, as solemnly he stands before the screen drawn round the fire, with hands behind clasped hand in hand, now loosely, now fast, just as his fathers used to stand for generations past. Fair and slight in childish form, with big, brown, thoughtful eyes. God help him, for a life of storm and stress before him lies. A wanderer and a gypsy wild, I've learnt the world, and I know, for I was such another child, oh, many years ago. But in those dreamy eyes of him there is no hint of doubt. I wish that you could tell me, Jim, those things you dream about. You are a child of field and flood, for with the gypsy strain, a strong Norwegian sailor's blood runs red through every vein. Dream on, my son, that all is true, and things not what they seem. 'Twill be a bitter day when you are wakened from your dream. Be true, and slander never stings. Be straight, and all may frown. You'll have the strength to grapple things that dragged your father down. These lines I write with bitter tears, and failing heart and hand, but you will read in after years, and you will understand. You'll hear the slander of the crowd, they'll whisper tales of shame, but days will come when you'll be proud to bear your father's name. The glass on the bar. 3 bushmen one morning rode up to an inn, and one of them called for the drinks with a grin. They'd only returned from a trip to the north, and, eager to greet them, the landlord came forth. He absently poured out a glass of 3 Star, and set down that drink with the rest on the bar. "There, that is for Harry," he said, "and it's queer. 'Tis the very same glass that he drank from last year. Its name's on the glass. You can read it like print. He scratched it himself with an old bit of flint. I remember his drink was always 3 Star." The landlord looked out through the door of the bar. He looked at the horses and counted but 3. "You were always together. Where's Harry?" cried he. "Oh, sadly they looked at the glass as they said, 'You may put it away, for our old mate is dead.'" But one, gazing out toward the ridges afar, said, "We owe him a shout. Leave the glass on the bar." They thought of the faraway grave in the plain. They thought of the comrade who came not again. They lifted their glasses, and sadly they said, "We drink to the name of the mate who is dead." And the sunlight streamed in, and a light like a star seemed to glow in the depths of the glass on the bar. And still in that shanty a tumbler is seen. It stands by the clock, always polished and clean. And often strangers will read as they pass the name of a bushman engraved on the glass. And, though on the shelf but a dozen there are, that glass never stands with the rest on the bar. When the world was wide. The world is narrow and ways are short, and our lives are dull and slow. For little is new where the crowds resort, and less where the wanderers go. Greater or small, the same old things we see by the dull roadside. And tired of all is the spirit that sings of the day when the world was wide. When the north was hale in the march of time, the south and the west was new, and the gorgeous east was a pantomime, and it seemed in our boyhood's view. When Spain was first in the waves of change, and proud in the ranks of pride, and all was wonderful, new, and strange, in the days when the world was wide. Then a man could fight if his heart were bold, and win if his faith were true. Were it love, or honor, or power, or gold, or all that our hearts pursue. Could live to the world for the family name, or die for the family pride. Could flee from sorrow and wrong and shame in the days when the world was wide. They roved away in the ships that sailed ere science controlled the main, and the strong, brave heart of a man prevailed as 'twill never prevail again. They knew not whither, nor much they cared. Let fate the winds decide. The worst of the great unknown they dared in the days when the world was wide. They raised new stars in the silent sea that filled their hearts with awe. They came to many a strange country, and marvelous sights they saw. The villagers gaped at the tales they told, and old eyes glistened with pride. When barbarous cities were paved with gold in the days when the world was wide. 'Twas honest metal and honest wood in the days of the outward bound, when men were gallant and ships were good, roaming the wide world round. The gods could envy a leader then, when "Follow me, lads," he cried. They faced each other and fought like men in the days when the world was wide. The good ship bound for the southern seas when the beacon was Ballarat, with a ship ahoy on the freshening breeze, where bound and what ship's that? The emigrant train to New Mexico, the rush to the Latchland side. Ah, faint is the echo of westward ho, from the days when the world was wide. South, east, and west in advance of time, and far in advance of thought. Brave men they were with a faith sublime, and is it for this they fought? And is it for this damned life we praise the godlike spirit that died at Eureka Stockade in the roaring days, with the days when the world was wide? With its dull, brown days of a shilling an hour, the dreary year drags round. Is this the result of old England's power, the born of the outward bound? Is this the sequel of westward ho, the days whatever betide? The heart of the rebel makes answer, no, we'll fight till the world grows wide. The world shall yet be a wider world, for the tokens are manifest. East and north shall the wrongs be hurled that followed us south and west. The march of freedom is north by the dawn, follows whatever betide. Sons of the exiles, march, march on, march till the world grows wide. The light on the wreck. Out there by the rocks at the end of the bank, in the mouth of the river the Wanderer sank. She is resting between the blue water and green, and only her masts and her funnel are seen. And you see, as day fades to its last crimson wreck, and her foremost a lantern, a light on a wreck. 'Tis a light on a wreck, warning ships to beware of the drowned iron hull the Wanderer there. And the ships that come in and go out in the night, keep a careful lookout for the Wanderer's light. There are rules for the harbor and rules for the wave, but all captains stand clear of a ship in her grave. And the stories of strong lives that ended in wrecks might be likened to lights over derelict decks, like the light where, in sight of the streets of the town, in the mouth of the channel the Wanderer went down. Keep a watch from the desk as they watch from the deck. Keep a watch from your home for the light on the wreck. The lights on the wrecks since creation began have been shining in vain for the vagabond clan. They will never take warning. They will not beware. They have for their watchwords what matter, what care. They steer without compass and sail without check, till they drift to their grave neath a light on the wreck. The Southerly Buster. There's a wind that blows out of the south in the drought, and we pray for the touch of his breath. When siroccoes come forth from the northwest and north, or in dead calms of fever and death. with eyes glad and dim we should sing him a hymn? For the depression and death are his foes. Oh, it gives us new life, the bread-winning strife, when glorious old Southerly blows. Old Southerly buster, your forces you muster, where seldom a wind bloweth twice. And your white caps have hints of the snow caps, and glint with the far-away barriers of ice. No wind the wide sea on can sing such a paean, nor do the great works that you do. Our own wind, and only from seas wild and lonely, old Southerly buster, to you. The yachts cut away at the close of the day, the breakers commencing to comb. For a few he may swamp in the health-giving romp with the friendly old Southerly home. Oh, softly he plays through the city's hot ways, to the beds where they're calling, come, quick. He is gentle and mild round the feverish child, and he cools the hot brow of the sick. 'Tis a glorious mission, old Sydney's physician, broom, bucket, and cloth of the East. 'Tis a breeze and a sprayer that answers our prayer, and it's free to the greatest and least. The red lamp's a warning to drought and its scorning, a sign to the city at large. Hence headache and worry, despondency, hurry, old Southerly busters in charge. Old Southerly buster, what forces you muster, where seldom a wind bloweth twice. And your white caps have hints of the snow caps, and glint of the far-away barriers of ice. No wind the wide sea on can sing such a paean, or do the great work that you do. Our own wind, and only from seas wild and lonely, old Southerly buster, to you. Written afterwards. So the days of my writing are over. The days of my trampling are done. I'm about as content as a rover will ever be under the sun. I write, after reading your letter, my mind with old memories rife, and I feel in a mood that had better not meet the true eyes of the wife. You must never admit a suggestion that old things are good to recall. You must never consider the question, was I happier then, after all? You must banish the old hope and sorrow that make the sad pleasures of life. You must live for today and tomorrow if you want to be just to the wife. I have changed since the first day I kissed her, which is due, heaven bless her, to her. I'm respected and trusted. I'm Mr., addressed by the children as Sir. I feel the respect without feigning, and you'd laugh the great laugh of your life if you only saw me entertaining an old lady friend of the wife. By the way, when you're writing, remember, you never went drinking with me, and forget our last nights of December, lest our several accounts disagree. And for my sake, old man, you had better avoid the old language of strife, for the technical terms of your letter will be misconstrued by the wife. Never hint to the girls appertaining to the past when you're writing again, for they take such a lot of explaining, and you know how I hate to explain. There are some things we know to our sorrow that cut to the heart like a knife. On your past is today and tomorrow, if you want to be true to the wife. No doubt you are dreaming as I once did, and going the careless old pace. But my future grows dull and decided, and the world narrows down to the place. Let it be. If my reason's resented, you may do worse, old man, in your life. Let me dream, too, that I am contented, for the sake of a true little wife. England yet. She's England yet. The nations never knew her, or if they knew, were ready to forget. She made new worlds that paid no homage to her, because she called for none as for a debt. Bullying power that deemed all nations craven, and thought her star of destiny had set, was sure that she would seek a coward's haven, and tempted her, and found her England yet. We learn our England, and we soon forget to learn again that she is England yet. They watched Britannia, ever looking forward, but could not see the things her children saw. They watched in southern seas her boats pull shoreward, but only marked the eyeglass, heard the ha. In tents and bungalows and outpost stations, thin white men ruled for her, unseen, unheard. 10 millions of strange races and far nations were ready to obey her at a word. We learn our England, and in peace forget to learn in storm that she is England yet. She's England yet, and men shall doubt no longer, and mourn no longer for what she has been. She'll be a greater England and a stronger, a better England the world has seen. Our own, who reck not of a king's regalia, tinsel of crowns and courts that fume and fret, are fighting for her, fighting for Australia, and blasphemously hail her England yet. She's England yet, with little to regret. Aye, more than ever, she'll be England yet. After all, the brooding ghosts of Australian night have gone from the bush and town. My spirit revives in the morning breeze, though it died when the sun went down. The river is high, and the stream is strong, and the grass is green and tall. Now I fain would think that this world of ours is a good world after all. The light of passion in dreamy eyes, and a page of truth well read, the glorious thrill and heart grown cold of the spirit I thought was dead. A song that goes to a comrade's heart and a tear of pride let fall, and my soul is strong. The world to me is a good world, grand world, great world, after all. Let our enemies go by their old dull tracks, and theirs be the fault or shame. The man is bitter against the world who has only himself to blame. For the darkest side of the past be dark, and only the good recall. For I must believe the world, my dear, is a kind world after all. Well, may be that I saw too plain, or may be I was blind. But I'll keep my face in the dawning light, though the devil may stand behind. Though the devil may stand behind my back, shall I see his shadow fall? I'll read in the light of the morning stars a good world after all. Rest, for your eyes are weary, girl. You've driven the worst away. The ghost of the man that I might have been is gone from my heart today. We'll live for life, the best it brings, till our twilight shadows fall. My heart grows brave, and the world, my girl, is a good world after all. Rain in the mountains. The valleys full of misty clouds, its tinted beauty drowning. Tree tops are veiled in fleecy shrouds, and mountain fonts are frowning. Mist is hanging like a pale above the granite ledges, and many a silvery waterfall leaps over the valley's edges. The sky is of leaden grey, save where the north looks surly. The driven daylight speeds away, and night comes o'er us early. Dear love, the rain will pass full soon, far sooner than my sorrow, but in a golden afternoon the sun may set tomorrow. The Mountain Splitter. He works in the glen where the warata grows. The gums and the ashes are tall. 'Neath cliffs that re-echo the sound of his blows, and the wedge leaps in from the maul. He comes of a hardy old immigrant race, and he feels not the rain nor the drought. His sinews are tougher than wire, and his face has been tanned by the sun of the south. Now dreamed to be shorn of its glory at last is the stately old tree he attacks. Its moments of life he is numbering fast, the keen, steady strokes of his axe. Loud cracks at the butt, and strong wood is burst, and the splitter steps backward and turns his eyes to the boughs that move slowly at first, and they rush to their grave in the ferns. He strips off the bark with slight effort of strength, and stretches it out in the weeds, and marks off the trunk with a measure the length of the rails or the palings he needs. The teeth of his crosscut so truly are set that it swings from his elbow at ease. The song of the saw, I am hearing it yet, is the music of wind in the trees. Strong blows in the wedge, and a rip and a tear. The log opens up to the butt, and spreading around to the pure mountain air is the scent of the wood newly cut. Lover of comfort and cronies is he, and when the day's work is behind, a fire and a yarn and a billy of tea, at the hut of the splitter you'll find. His custom is sought in the town by the range, for well to the future he looks. His checks in an instant the storekeepers change, and his name is the best on the books. The Song and the Sigh. The creek went down with a broken song, 'neath the shea oaks high. The waters carried the tune along, and the oaks a sigh. The song and the sigh went winding by, went winding down, circling the foot of the mountains high and the hillside brown. They were hushed in the swamp of the dead man's crime, where the curlicues cried. They reached the river the self-same time, and there they died. And the creek of life goes winding on, wandering by, and bears forever its course upon a song and a sigh. Ballad of the Elder Son. A son of elder days am I, whose boyhood days were cramped and scant, who lived the old domestic lie, and breathed the old familiar cant. Come, elder brothers mine, and bring dull loads of care that you have won, and gather round me while I sing the ballad of the elder son. The elder son on barren soil, where life is crude and lands are new, must share the father's hardest toil and see the father's troubles through. With no child thoughts to match his own, no game to play, no race to run, the use his father might have known is seldom for the elder son. A certain squatter had 2 sons up Canaan way some years ago. The graft was hard in those old runs. The sun was hot and life was slow. The younger brother coolly claimed the portion that he hadn't earned, and sought the life which untamed and high spirits always yearned. A year or so he knocked about, and spent his checks on girls and wine. But getting stony in the drought, he took a job at herding swine. And though he was a hog to swig, and fool with girls till all was blue, 'twas rather rough to mind the pig and have to eat its tuckert too. Then coming to himself, he said, he reckoned truly, though dead beat, the rousers in my father's shed have got more grub than they can eat. I've been a fool, but such is fate. I guess I'll talk the governor round. I've acted cronk, I'll tell him straight. He's had his time too, I'll be bound. I'll tell him straight, I've had my fling. I'll tell him I've been on the beer. But put me on anything, I'll graft with any bounder here. I rolled his swag and struck for home. By this time he was pretty slim. And when the old man saw him come, well, he welcomed him. They've brought the best robe in the house, the ring, and killed the fattened calf. And now they hold a grand carouse, and eat and drink and dance and laugh. Well, from the field the elder son, whose character is not admired, comes plodding home when work is done, extremely hot and very tired. He asked the meaning of the sound of such unwonted revelry. They said his brother had been found. He'd found himself, it seems to me. 'Twas natural the elder son should take the thing a little hard, and brood on what was past and done while standing pensive in the yard. Now he was hungry and knocked out, and would, if they had let him be, have rested and cooled down, no doubt, and hugged his brother after tea, and welcomed him and hugged his dad and filled the wine cup to the brim. But just when he was feeling bad, the old man came and tackled him. He might well say with bitter tears, while music swelled and flowed the wine, Lo, I have served thee many years, nor caused thee one grey hair of thine. Whatever thou badest me do I did, and for my brother made amends. Thou never gavest me a kid for merrymaking with my friends. He was no heavy clod and glum, who could not trespass, sing, or dance. He could be merry with a chum, it seemed, if he had half a chance. Perhaps, if further light we seek, and he knew, and therein lay the sting, his brother would clear out next week, and promptly pop the robe and ring. The father said, The wandering one, the lost is found, this son of mine. Thou art always with me, son, and knowest all I have is thine. It seemed the best robe and the ring, the love and fatted calf were naught. But this was just a little thing the old man in his joy forgot. And all I have, the paltry bride that he might slave contented yet, will envied by his selfish tribe the birthright he might never get. The worked-out farm and endless graft, the mortgage home, the barren run, the heavy, hopeless overdraft, the portion of the elder son. Sometimes the eldest takes the track, when things at home have got too bad. He comes not crawling, canting back, to seek the blind side of his dad. He always finds a knife and fork, and meat between on which to dine, and, though he sometimes deals in pork, he never eats his meals with swine. the happy home, the overdraft, his birthright and his prospects gay, and his share likewise of the graft, he leaves the rest to grab. And they, who'd always do the thing by halves, if anything for him was done, should kill a score of fatted calves to welcome home the eldest son. The Never Never Land. By homestead, hunt, and shearing shed, by railroad coach and track, by lonely graves where rest our dead, up country and out back, to where the clustered stars the dreamy plains expand, my home lies wide 1,000 miles in the Never Never Land. It lies beyond the farming belt, wide wastes of scrub and plain, a blazing desert in the drought, a lakeland after rain. To the skyline sweeps the waving grass, or whirls the scorching sand, a phantom land, a mystic realm, the Never Never Land. Where lone Mount Desolation lies, mounts dreadful and despair, 'tis lost beneath the rainless skies and hopeless deserts there. It spreads northwest by no man's land, where clouds are seldom seen, to where the cattle stations lie, 300 miles between. The drovers of the great stock routes, the strange Gulf country know, where, traveling for the northern grass, the big lean bullocks go. Encamped by night where the plains lie wide, like some old ocean's bed, the stockmen in the starlit ride round 1,500 head. And west of named and numbered days, the shearers walk and ride, Jack Cornstalk and the ne'er-do-well, and Greybeard side by side. They veil their eyes from moon and stars and slumber on the sand. Sad memories sleep as years go round in Never Never Land. O rebels to society, the outcasts of the West, the hopeless eyes that smile for me and broken hearts that jest, the pluck to face 1,000 miles, the grit to see it through, the communism perfected till man to man is true. The Arab to the desert sand, the Finn to fens and snow, the flax-stick dreams of Maoriland, will seasons come and go. Whatever stars may glow or burn, or lands of east and west, the wondering heart of man will turn to one it loves the best. Lest in the city I forget, true mateship after all, my water bag and billy yet are hanging on the wall. And I, to save my soul, again would tramp to sunsets grand, with sad-eyed mates across the plain, in the Never Never Land. Now, these poems are pretty interesting. Henry Lawson is the first articulate voice of Australia. 1915. He was born in 1867. He was in Australia when he was 21. So it's quite interesting. I can sort of tell it's about lonely days and empty seas and a past which is glorious but gone still. So next time I'll read more poems. That's poetry, right? Just you find a book somewhere and one or two of those poems really speaks to you. It's a surprise. Someone 100 years ago is almost looking out through your eyes.